Electro-fishing is a sampling tool that fishers biologists like myself use to get a representative sample of what's going on underwater. You know, ponds and lakes are mysteries a lot of the times, and sometimes you go out here and have a great day, catch a lot of fish, and other days you might not. But what happens with our electro-fishing boat is we're able to go out and take random samples of fish, and from that be able to deduce what's going on underwater. We can look at the food chain. We're going to catch fish that you might not, you know, little bitty bluegill, bigger bluegill, small bass. You know, we're going to get a good random sampling of what's going on. So now we're going to fire this generator up. We're going to see if we can't shock up a few fish and show them to you. At the same time, with our Smith Root electro-fishing boat that's designed especially for this process, we'll be studying the habitat as we go. I'm looking at aquatic plants. You know, I'm looking at making sure those plants are native plants. And here at the 6-0 Ranch, these plants are all native plants. They look great. I'm happy with them. So we'll be studying that. We'll be picking up some fish. We'll be weighing and measuring some fish so we can deduce the situation, figure out what kind of body condition these fish are in, and from that we draw conclusions as to how this lake should be treated. Should it be a catch and release lake? Should fish be harvested? Well, here in about an hour we'll know that. So stay tuned with us. We're going to see if we can pick up a few fish. The old pond dam here at the 6-0 Ranch, shocking, electro-fishing, so we're going to see what we can catch so we can weigh and measure a few fish, see what kind of shape they're in. I'll tell you more about gizzard shad here in just a little bit, but there's a gizzard shad.
And now we're focusing in on the, what do you call it, the tentacles of the shock boat?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what these do?
Well, what that does is it puts about 240 volts of electricity into the water, and it actually creates a direct arc from the cables all the way back to the boat, where there's some more cables hanging down. So we're creating an electrical arc that goes down about 6 feet, spreads out about 10 feet beyond each boom out in the front, all the way back to the back of the boat. So anything that we cross over that's in that field, well, we stun it. Now, it doesn't hurt the fish. They just get stunned temporarily, just can't swim for a minute. We pick them up, put them in the live well, and they revive within just 5 or 10 minutes. And periodically we stop and we weigh and measure them and then release the fish.
Cara, very thick in the American pondweed, and there are little bluegill galore, all different size classes from a ½ inch all the way up to 4 or 5 inches.
This is their habitat. This is where they thrive. They can hide. They don't get eaten when they're hiding down in that real dense vegetation like that. You know, I can imagine throwing a spinnerbait on top of this aquatic plant stuff, this skunk grass, Cara they call it. The pond with the leaves on, it's one of the pondweed. This looks like American pondweed. It may be a different one, but this is all good, diverse habitat for a food chain. And you see the kind of bass that are here. See that one that just popped up? That's about an 8 or 9 inch largemouth bass. They can make a pretty good living in this stuff as long as they can navigate through it, because they're the ones that want to eat these smaller bluegill anyway. So we can go through here. You see the nursery. This is a nursery part of this lake. That's what this is. It's where the bluegill spawn. The babies can grow up and become substantial. You know, when a bluegill is first hatched, about 12,000 of them make a pound. If you can keep them alive for 45 days in a pond, they become 30 per pound. And when it takes 10 pounds of bait fish for a bass to gain 1 pound, this bass right here had to eat about 20 pounds to get that big right there. So if you can get the bluegills to get to be 30 per pound compared to 12,000 per pound, you've got a substantial food chain. And you do some of that by reducing the numbers of bass. You know, culling is a really important practice in a lake like this. Because if you don't take some of these bass out, they're all going to stay about the same size. But if you reduce the numbers and harvest some small bass, the remaining fish can grow a lot bigger, a lot faster. I've never met a lake that's a bass lake that we did not have to cull sufficient at some point. This lake needs some of these 12, 13, 10, 14-inch bass taken out. If that'll happen, this lake will grow some huge bass again. What we're going going to do here is we've spent, I don't know, hour and a half electro-fishing or so, and we've captured quite a few fish, got the live well, water running through it, keeping them good and fresh. Now they're revived wells, so now we're going to weigh them and measure them, and those that need to come out of the lake, we're going to take those out, and we're going to judge the body condition. After we get the lengths and weights, we'll go put those in an Excel spreadsheet so we can put them on an XY graph so we can compare these fish to normal fish. And at that point, we can come up with some recommendations as to what needs to come out. But it looks pretty clear to me. Bass 14 inches and under in this lake are overcrowded. The good news is there's a lot of bluegill. There's bluegill from, I don't know, half an inch up to 7 or 8 inches long. And we'll show you some of these big bluegill, copper-nosed bluegill here in a minute. This lake was stocked originally with pure strain copper-nose that came all the way from Florida back in like 1986, if I remember right. And they look like they're still pure to this day, which is pretty cool. $14.25.
Now, Bob, that fish looks
1.3 pounds.
Should be what it weighs.
That fish should weigh 1.7. So that fish is a little bit underweight. Doesn't look too bad. It's got pretty nice shoulders. You know, it's thick across the back, but it's still a little bit underweight. It's a little bit long for its girth. I'd take it out.
Here's our
that fish
final
come
catch.
out.
Approximately 80 bass, ranging anywhere from 4 or 5 inches all the way up to about 2 pounds. Some copper-nosed bluegill, Cleburne 6.0 Ranch. See all the different size classes, some really big ones, a little over a pound probably. Close up to maybe the largest one.
Yeah, and the pond boss in the background saying this is not the way you want you to handle your fish. Do not put them on the bow of the boat.
That's a male.
Doing this for effect.
And this is for female. We're going to get them back in the water. They're going to survive.